George is going to talk about his bowling and tailgating and so forth.
George Shantz, he was the vice president of Calvin Foundry, and he was an ardent bowler, and he always loved to bowl, and he had a brother-in-law who was interested in building a bowling alley, and he talked him into building a first bowling alley in Homer, in the town of Homer. And I forget the years, but and that became one of the favorite community spots, because all of them, they had women's bowling leagues and men's bowling leagues. Almost everybody in Homer participated. They all could bowl in the town of Homer. And at that time, Chet King and the King family were the ones that built the bowling alley. They were big fans, and they related to George Shantz. And Stu Karcher, an active businessman, he was a big-time bowler, and he at one time bowled 300 set, which was very unusual. And then the other strong bowlers, Kafka and Harold Young and Judd King and myself, and so we all formed one team, and we were at one time, the number one team in Homer was Judd King, Kafka, Petrodine, Young, and Karcher. And we were the number one bowling team at that time. Then we had bowlers come in from Albion and other areas and bowled in Homer, because Homer had a brand new bowling alley, four alleys. And that was very popular for a long time.
And you were bowling in leagues in other towns as well.
And as bowling leagues also have competition from other bowling towns. And now a big group from Albion always would come in and challenge Homer bowlers to matches. And as a result, we had much camaraderie between Albion bowlers and Homer bowlers and Marshall bowlers and Battle Creek bowlers. And it's a very active group, and you went from one alley to another in competing, and then also participated in local tournaments in different towns. They had tournaments, and you compete in those tournaments with your Homer bowlers.
In addition to being in the leagues, did you practice very much?
No, normally everybody practiced, and I was always kind of cheap. They couldn't afford to bowl extra bowling. I was just the night of bowling at that time. So I didn't practice much, but without practicing, I had 180 average, which wasn't too bad.
And then bowling kind of went out of fashion after a while.
Yeah, after so many years, it gets kind of tired, and I did a lot of bowling, and we just kind of faded, and people left, and people died, but then the younger people, and ladies and men, did a lot of bowling when they built that new bowling alley outside of Homer.
And what happened to the bowling alley that was in Homer originally?
It just, no business, that thing, it just faded out, and I don't think they did have a fire, but not enough to destroy the alleys and that. But it just, everybody, instead of bowling Homer, would bowl outside of Homer. There were new bowling alleys was built.
Okay, let's move over into your years when you would you had a group of people that you went to the Michigan games with.
Well, in Homer, but Al Allen and Blanche Allen both were big Michigan fans. And Howard and Millie Andrews were Michigan fans. And Gert Young and Harold Young were Michigan State fans. So,
And Mary Lou and Maury?
Maury, they were both bowlers too. Mary Lou bowled in the ladies' league, and Maury bowled in the men's league.
And they were part of your tailgate group too.
Pardon me?
They were part of your tailgating group too for
Yeah.
the football games.
But then, of course, from bowling we had Mary Lou and Maury, Blanche and Al, Howard and Millie, and myself and Betty became big Michigan fans, and so we would go to Michigan games for a couple. So many games in Ann Arbor, and we tried to go to at least one Big Ten stadium in the conference. We went to Ohio State, Indiana, Purdue Lafayette, Indiana for Purdue, Minnesota. So we bowled all of those cities that had bowling.
That was football,
Falling football, yeah.
tailgating,
Right.
and Madison as well.
Madison, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, like I say. And Iowa, we've bowled in Iowa with Lyle Finch and Helen Finch. They're from Litchfield. And Jim Miller and Lucy Miller were bowlers too from Homer. And Amelia and Howard Andrews. And like I say, Maury McCullen and Mary Lou. And Harold Young and Gert Young, all bowlers.
And then you moved. You were this group with tailgating at the football games, and then you pretty much just stayed as a social group and did all kinds of other activities as well.
Yeah, well, we started, our group got to meeting at least once a week, either on a Saturday or Sunday at each other's home, with different homes every week. And we'd have a dinner and a summer picnic. We'd have played darts and all kind of summer activities that you could, horseshoes outdoors. And one week would be at Harold Young, another week would be at Gert Young, and another week Billy and Andrews, Maury and McCullen, and Mary Lou, and Gerald Schaefer and Rosie Schaefer were part joined the group also.
And I remember when Linda and I first came to town in the late '80s, that sometimes we'd meet some of your group out at restaurants like Schuler's.
Well, then we enjoyed going out to dinner on either Gilbert's, Schuler's, Knight's, and our favorite one in Jackson, I just forget the name, that we used to go to all the time, had our parties there. And we frequently had good excuses to have parties at different restaurants, on birthdays and whatever the occasion,
And that group stayed together for a long time.
until they kept dying off,
Yeah.
which was sad but inevitable.
Okay, well, thank you, George.